Another data type that is pretty similar to an array is called a vector. This is new relatively to Flash because it was introduced to Flash CS4. Earlier versions of Flash did not contain vectors, and a vector is basically a more specific type of an array and can only contain one data type. In an array, we could have had contained strings and numbers. So if I changed webcam to 6 and I test my movie, I'll say that Flash has no problem at containing different types of data within one array. Here we have a string and here we have a number. But a vector can only contain one type of data, so it could only be strings or only be numbers. So why use vectors in the first place if I can use an array with any type of data? Well, that's because ActionScript is more efficient with dealing with vectors. That is, if we're dealing with only one data type, which is similar to how we define numbers and integers. We define arrays and vectors. To define a vector, we simply write the name, we'll change it to my vector. Instead of array here, we write vector, and then dot, the less than sign or opening angle bracket, and then the type of the data we want this vector to contain. So if we are having the same list here, we'll write string, and then the greater than sign or the closing angle bracket, set this equal to a new, then the same text that we have here, vector dot string. Copy this and then paste it here. And that's pretty much it. Simply have to change these to my vector. Let me just delete those. And let's try to keep this as it is right now. This vector is of type string, but it contains a number. So if I wanted to trace my vector, I'll get a compiler error. It says implicit coercion of a value of type int to an unrelated type string. That means that I'm trying to put an integer inside a variable that can only contain strings. So if I wanted to include the number 6 within my vector, I will simply have to put it inside quotation marks. Now we have no problem with that. Let's say I had another variable that had a little bit of math into it. So it's defined as var, we'll call it number. It's of type number, equal to, let's say, 10 multiplied by 8 and then plus 98. And I wanted to include this within my vector. I can't simply write number because number is of type number, and if I put it inside quotation marks, then I'll simply have the word number appear in my list. That's not what I want. So what I can do is write string and then put number inside the string. This converts the result of this equation into a string and then puts it inside my vector. And all the other functions that worked with the array can work the same way with vectors. So I can write my vector dot pop, now trace my vector. The last element of the vector has been removed. Same way with the shift method, the delete method, and also sorting works the same way with vectors as it worked with arrays.